Hello, troopers, and this is the 501st Com Chatter. I am Chloe. This is Will.
How are we doing, guys?
And Happy New Year. We're starting the new year off with a very special guest called Tfincosplays. Say hello.
Hey there. How's it going, everybody?
Thank you for coming on, Tim. It's a pleasure to have you on and joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Very welcome. So as today, because we have our Coruscant Guard special guest, we have the Coruscant Guard gunship in the background just for today because of obviously our special guest.
You have a very cool background as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll get into that in a little bit. Have we got any news? No. All right. So, Tim, welcome to the 501st Command Chat, my friend.
Hey there. Thanks for having me on. Thank you.
So, yeah, just tell us a bit about yourself.
Tim, normal guy from Midwest USA, that type of thing. I've been a fan of Star Wars sort of all my life. That type of thing. Always wanted. When I was in high school, I remember getting magazines that had like statues that you could maybe wear the clothing off them or something like that for thousands of dollars. And I always thought like, oh, someday when I'm rich, I'll get one of those, those type of things. And through watching the movies, fell in love with the character Boba Fett and also the Scout Troopers specifically. Always wanted to dress up like one of those. Life happens, get older, all that kind of stuff. Sort of fell away from that dream for quite a while. And then The Force Awakens came out, and I saw a lot of people start, dressing as the Stormtroopers and the new The Force Awakens troopers, all that kind of stuff. And decided to get back into it. So I built, you can see right behind me, my Mandalorian. I built that one. And then soon after started joined the 501st as a shock trooper. And so, yeah, here we are now. So, this lifelong Star Wars fan and all that kind of stuff, and just finally able to do it on a larger scale, I guess.
Oh.
Well, again, everyone here, especially me and Chloe, and every guest that we come on, is a massive Star Wars fan. And we love hearing, the different ways people got into it. Like you said, you were in high school and you were wanting to be one, and then life just went your own way, and Star Wars found you again. Which is again really cool.
And we all love the clones.
Yes, we love the clones.
They're very cool.
So I've got to ask, why a shock trooper?
Well, okay, so that's sort of an odd story. I got into regular the Mandalorian side, and I'd always really wanted to do like a stormtrooper or a bike, a biker scout, something armored. And I just didn't feel I had the skill to do it and all that kind of stuff. And I had a lot of self-doubt and like, oh, I'm sort of a bigger guy, and I'm always like, well, I'm too big to be one of those guys because they're all, small guys and stuff. And the Mandalorian costumes can fit different body types even better, so that was what I was working with. And plus, I've always just loved Boba Fett. I always wanted to be a Boba Fett. And that's a rabbit hole of work and detail that I've started looking into, but I'm just not personally prepared for yet, So anyway, I started watching the Rexing Around podcast, and they were talking about, just their positivity in like kitting up and the Star Wars. Got me even more into it and more loving more clones. And I started getting more into it. And then I actually chose through that. I was really, I really want to do Doom, and I really like the Shock Troopers. I'm sort of a color-driven person, so red and green are sort of my thing. And so I started working on those, and then they did a suit up episode where Michael got kitted up Brian, one of their other presenters, he got kitted up, and then Greg got kitted up. And Greg is almost the exact same body size as me. And he talked about how he was a bigger guy, but he could make the armor to look, not like a fat guy in a little suit or whatever. So I was always personally concerned with that. And it was through his positivity and stuff like that that I really got gung ho and started building my own armor. So I'm still building armor and all that kind of stuff for the Doom. And soon after that, he put his kit up for sale, and no one bid on it. No one did anything. And I came into some money, and so I offered money, and so I actually own Go Getter Greg's or Brian or Greg from the Rex and Round podcast. That's the armor that I currently wear right now. So that's the turnaround, and that's why I have the Shock Trooper. A lot of people have asked why I haven't repainted it to something of my own, and I do. I love the Shock Troopers. I love the color scheme. I love sort of that they a lot of other clones, sort of questioned Order 66. They stood right along beside Palpatine and were hunting down Yoda. Sort of like they were the ride or die. So I thought thought that was funny and interesting that that was there a lot in the whole thing. So that's why I haven't done any repainting or anything like that of mine. So that's how I got onto that one.
I think also you don't see very many Shock Trooper cosplayers. Like you see a lot of Rexes, a lot of 212 and things, but not many Shock Troopers.
And honestly, it's weird. Like the Shock Troopers do get a lot of comments and stuff. I made a comment, or I made a reel recently with me, saying I didn't kill fives or whatever like that, because so many people, they see the Shock Troopers like, oh, you guys killed fives, and you guys did this, and I'm like, well, that was a character on TV, and no, it wasn't me. It was it wasn't me who did that. It was Fox. So
yep. It wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I will say after the sort of 501st, the Coruscant Guard is one of my favorite clone legions. I think they're quite underrated in terms of the clones. But again, I think the red looks really good, and again, your Coruscant Guard is one that, in terms of our community that we've seen in terms of our social medias, we've seen a couple of Fox, and I think we've seen a Fire or something, but just a normal Coruscant Guard, I think you're one of the first that we've seen. I was like, that is very cool.
I mean, in the Coruscant Guard, there's a lot of cool, there's in the Battlefront version, there's a heavy, a specialist, and a commander, and then you got Fox and Thorn. Technically, Hound is also a Coruscant Guard, and that type of thing. So I live in Iowa, and we have a pretty good group of clones here. And we have a Thorn, and so we always joke around that, he's my boss, and all that stuff. And we're getting a Hound. You got someone who's working on a Hound, someone who's working on a Fox, and we do have a Coruscant Guard commander. So we've got a pretty good group of red going. So that's always fun.
Oh, that's good. You got all your brothers with you.
Yeah, because we've had a couple of 501st. We've had a 330-second. We still need some others, but the first Coruscant Guard we've had on. And so
cool.
What a way to join our little growing list.
The year.
Yeah, what a way to start. One thing that I will say, with your costume that we've seen in some of the videos and that, you seem to have quite a lot of mobility. Some of those videos of you running and dancing with it. Some of the other people that we've had on as clones have said about it's quite difficult to move in their armor, but you seem quite relaxed and comfortable in yours.
It is difficult to move in. I mean, they are not wrong. It is not easy to move in. And some of the newer ones where I'm running with a Commander Vaughn, Captain Vaughn. That's my son, actually. That's his kid. We're both just runners in general in life. He runs cross country in high school. I do other distance running, all that kind of stuff. So running is sort of a natural thing for me, but I have to run very almost swinging instead of normal forward motion. I almost have to swing my legs out and land in my heels because you're not allowed to flex the normal way. So you have to figure out new ways to move. And also I've broken things. So you just have to like, yeah, I'm going to break things and I'm going to have to repair them. Sort of the, the other thing. And I'm sort of just a ham in life anyway. And so kidding up, sometimes I get a little like self-conscious when I'm in normal person mode or whatever you want to call it. But when I'm in kit, I've got a helmet on, no one knows who I am, so I can be a little more of a ham, dance around and be silly and stuff like that. So it sort of allows me to go to the next level on being silly and sort of being myself, oddly enough. I really resonate. There's a meme out there where it's like how women want men to look as a guy in a suit, and how men want men to look. It's like a guy in a suit of armor of some kind, or a Star Wars kid, or a suit of armor, or whatever. And I really resonate with that because I kid up in either my Mando or my clone, and I feel like I'm in my second skin. It's a fun thing, and so playing around and having fun, and it amplifies the fun. So even if it is hard to move in, it's one of those. It's worth being hard to move in just for fun.
Yep. Well, you definitely seem like you're having a lot of fun in the videos that you're doing. So keep having that, because that is, at the end of the day, that's the main thing. You got to enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
And also that you do it for a good cause as well. That's also really good.
Should we go show you guys a picture of this cosplay?
Yes. So we have a couple here.
Da-da-da.
So here's one that you very kindly sent us. Looking very cool, by the way.
Very cool.
That's my son and I. That was at Twin Cities Comic-Con just last November. That was a really fun one. So we really got to, again, play around, do some content filming. Just got to walk around the floor and just see things. It was really fun. Met a lot of the local troopers from up there, that type of thing. So yeah, we really do enjoy going to conventions. They're fun. They're just another great fun thing we can do.
Yeah, it definitely is something that I admire with all of the guests that we come on, that cosplay and that, because it's just so cool to look at, as a fan, going to a con and seeing your characters, like you said, you're like, oh my god, there's a Coruscant Guard, or there's Captain Vaughn. You really do put a smile on people's faces, and like I can imagine under the helmet, you guys are probably smiling just as much.
Oh yeah, 100%. Again, wearing armor can be sort of restrictive. You get what we call armor bites. When two pieces of armor, pinch into your skin and bite you a little bit. That type of thing. But honestly, those don't matter so much. It's again, like you see a little kid run up and like, oh my god, even if they call you a stormtrooper and you're not, it doesn't matter. They're excited, and being able to inject that happiness and excitement into someone's life, that's cool and that's fun. And honestly, the biggest thing when we get done at a convention, our faces are so sore because they're smiling, you're smiling, and it's a natural reaction. Even when you're wearing a helmet, someone's like, can I get a picture with you? And you're wearing a helmet, no one can see your face. You might give them a thumbs up or a serious pose or whatever, but under that helmet, you're like, just really weird. And you don't have to, no one can see your face, but it's the natural reaction. It is so fun to do that. And yeah, like being able to impact people's lives positively, it brings a smile to my face constantly. So yeah, I get done at the end of the day and my cheeks are just sore because of, all day long. 12-year-old me is living the best life.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing your cosplay journey then?
I think I started like just even the most basic parts of it in like 2015-ish or so, something like that. Somewhere around the Force Awakens and Rogue One release type thing. Started working at that. And I didn't get I think I was fully official into the Mandalorian merch 2021. So it took me a few years to get stuff done. My wife and I, we own a restaurant. So there are times of the year when we're so busy that I don't get to touch any of my projects. So, a year might go by, but I only had like 3 to 4 months of actual time that I could have ever worked on it. So yeah, 2021 joined up into the Mercs, and 2022 I think it was when I joined into the 501st. So yeah, and I've got 2 approved kits, one in the Mercs, one in the 501st, and my 501st kit also just became approved in the Rebel Legion. That was just Tuesday. So, the 3 clubs now.
So did you find it hard, like meeting the specifications for the 501st, or was it quite easy in your case?
In a way,
like, and it was like,
I was lucky because my kit was already approved once already in the Legion. So, and knowing that the person who wore it before me was literally the exact same size as me, that helped. I had to do a little bit of padding for shipping around to make sure it fit my body right, But I've been working with kits and stuff enough, and also we have such a great group of people around here that when I said I was going to be doing this, they were super supportive and super helpful. They, okay, this is how you do this and this. And when I got to meet them in person with the kit, they like, okay, well, we'll just tweak this or move this, and help me look my best right away. And showed me how to take the armor that I had, and, like, wear it the right way, so you look really good and all that kind of stuff. And also they help me show, like, this is how you can help stop armor bites or, that kind of thing. And like my helmet. So when I bought my armor kit, there was no helmet. So I did build my own helmet from scratch. I printed it. That's this one right here. It's a 3D printed kit from Galactic Armory. Amazing crafter, builder, designer, that type of thing. So I bought the files. I have 3D printers, so I 3D printed my helmet. Did that. The Shock Trooper it's not one of it's sort of complex for the paint job. And so it was one of those nerve-wracking things. I think I spent like 4 or 5 hours just masking out the lines to make sure
wow.
The red along the top and the red along the tubes, making sure it was the proper dimensions, proper lines. That was probably the hardest part of getting that kit done, is just all the masking and making sure. The kit was so good, I wanted to make sure the helmet looked good too and was perfect and all that kind of stuff. So, but man, when you get that done and then you peel the tape off and the paint's right there done, it was amazing. It was, putting down a good paint job is a very rewarding thing. So I'm okay with it taking a while.
I mean, when it was finished and you looked at the helmet, I mean, again, I would imagine there was quite a big smile on your face of like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah. As you see behind me, I've got some of my droids that I built behind me and all that kind of stuff. So I'm currently filming from our restaurant here. On one wall, I have a display of all the Black Series helmets I bought. So we have that in one of the displays in our restaurant because we're just sort of during the pandemic, we had to remove some tables and chairs and stuff like that due to safety restrictions, and we just we weren't sure what to do with the space, and we're like, just sort of looks a little empty in here. And I had some props and some other stuff. I'm like, well, why don't we? Everybody knows I'm a nerd. Everybody knows I love Star Wars. Yeah, I'm a small town. People don't know who I am. I'm like, well, why don't we put some of our stuff upstairs? And so we did, and it just sort of expanded. And so we just used up some of that space with our props and all that kind of stuff. And after they lifted the restrictions, we're like, you know what? Let's just keep this as our identity. And so at our restaurant, we display, as I said, the droids are behind me. I have another shelf where I keep helmets that I've done personally, and then I have another display of the Black Series ones. So, some of the more complex, like, so we have a Darth Vader and Bo-Katan, Boba Fett. It's sort of interesting when kids come in again. When I was a kid, they're like, oh, Star Wars, and we have currently 3 Baby Yodas hidden throughout the restaurant. Kids will be like, "Mom, it's Baby Yoda!" Like, it is not Baby Yoda. And they're like, pointing. The kids find them instantly. The adults like, "There's not a Baby Yoda." Oh yeah, there's 3.
It's like, where's Wally, but where's
Baby exactly.
Yeah, well, you'll have to show us this display because these displays sound really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely after this podcast or something, send us some videos of it because it looks really cool. So going on to a bit different, like you just mentioned, so the droids that you've been building in the background, those are looking very cool, and these are ones that you built yourself.
Yep. So again, those are 3D printed, and so that's as I was getting into my cosplay building journey, I just on a whim picked up a 3D printer, and I was like, well, maybe I could use this, in my stuff. I don't know, and I was sort of on the edge, and I saw these droid files for the B1 battle droid. A guy named Sean Fields builds those, or he made the files for it, and I was like, wow, that looks really cool, and. Okay, so in all honesty, I wasn't the biggest fan of the prequel trilogy when it came out. But as I saw it more and more, I saw sort of, the background text of what was going on, how George Lucas always, the Ewoks were an allegory for, the scrappy rebels fighting the big, Imperials. I'm like, okay, and so I started looking differently at the prequels, and I really became to really like them more and more through the years, even though when they first came out, I wasn't the biggest fan. I didn't hate them. I wasn't one of the haters, but I just wasn't for me. I've always been a believer of you can like what you like, I'll like what I like, and, I don't have to be mean about it or anything like that. I was just always really an original trilogy person, and I became to love the prequels more and more, and I really sort of liked the droids, and especially watching the cartoon series, the Clone Wars cartoon series, how they're just, it just sort of always sort of the butt of a joke. I'm like, oh, I felt for him because, and so I became to love them more. I'm like, I really sort of want one. And so I bought the files and started printing those, and random alarms going off on my phone. But anyway, so yeah, I built him, and I finished Roger, like 2018, 2019, something like that. And he'd been sort of down in our basement, just hanging out. I really didn't know what to do with him when he was finished. And then again, the pandemic hit, and we needed, to like have people, like when people would come in to pick up takeout food, we need to have a specific area. And so we just gave Roger a sign and made him stand like this and point and said, like, take out food here, And we just started doing silly things because, I don't know, we had to keep our sanity somehow. And so we would make silly posts with him pointing to things or blocking the path, like, please go over here, or whatever it may be, And so we just got creative with it. And so he got his home, permanent home through that. And then IG-11, right? It's hard to point. There you go. Right over there. IG-11, we lovingly call him Iggy. I saw The Mandalorian, and I was like, oh my God, I have to have one of those too. And so there's another creator out there called Droid Division, and makes amazing files. He also makes a B1 Battle Droid file, but he did his sort of second to Sean Fields. They're different sort of in a way, but they're both really good, but I just had the Sean file first. But the Droid Division file for IG-11 is amazing. So I started printing that, and that's sort of my pandemic project. I had a little more time in my hands, being locked down, all that kind of stuff. Printed and did that. So yeah, he's 1-to-1 scale. Just I get it. I work basically that direction, and I look out over the restaurant and I see these guys all the time. And so it brings endless joy to see these guys here. And then, as you can see, they've got the bag with Baby Yoda in him also as well. We've got a Santa hat on at the moment, the holiday season, all that kind of stuff. But I also take these guys to conventions too. And, the kids who are like, oh my goodness, it's just, it's cool. I do enjoy being able to do that too.
And yeah, those droids behind you are looking very cool.
Yeah.
In the video that you did for us yesterday for the introduction video, it was I was looking at them and I was like, I've got to ask about them because they really look like spot on.
Mm-hmm. And I built, mine are just basically static. And if you get into the Droid Division printing club and all that, and you look at what other people have done, some people have motorized the head. And so, like when IG-11 is holding his blaster rifle, they put like a movement sensor, they hide a movement sensor into the rifle. So when you get close enough, it's like, and it says in his voice, please step away. I'll initiate self-destruct, and it like starts spinning the thing in the chest. And I mean, the stuff that people have done in creativity, and now with the newest season of Mandalorian, where they have IG-12 with the little baby Yoda sitting inside, they released those files, and I love that too. The whole yes, yes, no, no thing. I was dying. I was in tears. I loved it so much. And I really wanted to do that, but I love Iggy so much, I can't change him. I sort of need to do a whole new one or something like that. I just haven't had the time. But yeah, once you get into the droids too, that's another thing. Like, I love clones. I love those things. And then you start loving the droids too, and it's just that they have their own personalities too, just like how, like all the clones have their own personalities. Everyone is slightly different, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's just like a whole nother level of like, love and smiles that go through those two.
So, you might not have any in the pipeline, but if you were going to be doing another droid, what is the next one you'd like to do?
I have two. 2.5 actually. I have the dome printed for an R2 unit. My wife really loves R2D2, and so she's requested I work on that. And I've started on that, and I hit a bump, and I'm waiting to do some printer stuff basically, so I can get moving on that better. But I've got an R2 in the works, and then K2SO. I loved Rogue One. Rogue One spoke to me. I loved it so much. As the new series of films that came out, that was the one that really it hit home with me. It really spoke to me. I want a K2 droid. I was able to meet Alan Tudyk at Celebration, and he's hilarious. He's great. I think he did great in the part. I thought the droid was great. And again, so Droid Division made files for that too, and so that's another one that I want to work with. So yeah, the R2 and the K2 are the two. But I also, you can't see it because it's on the floor below me. Actually, I have a mouse droid. My son has a mouse droid. That was his pandemic project. So we made a mouse droid. It's fully remote controlled, all that kind of stuff, so we can zip around and stuff too. So we've got 3 droids on hand, 2 in the pipeline, that type of thing.
Well, I was going to say, if you've got the mouse droid, I was hoping it was going to run around, because that you have to. There have to be. But those ones that you got in the pipeline sound very cool. Again, if you next time you get them done or something, send us some photos, and we'd love to show them off on here. Because especially the R2 one and the K2, sound very fun. You mentioned Celebration. Was that last 2022 Celebration? Was that
2019. We went Celebration 2019, the one in Chicago. This is really close to us, like 4-hour drive. That's it. So it's really nice to hit it. We were thinking of going to the Anaheim one, but it just didn't work out, for our schedules and stuff like that. So it would have been fun though. That we would have been fun. But we hit local conventions and stuff too. So like it's interesting when you go to regular convention. It's Star Wars, Star Trek, anime, anything like that, different cartoons and comic books. But obviously, when you get to Celebration, it is just pure Star Wars. Like
it's a different level. It's a different level, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a different level.
My first Celebration was obviously, we went to one last year in London, but then I'd only been to like 2 Comic Cons at like London the year before, so I was used to just seeing all these different cool cosplays, and I get to Celebration and I'm just like in my element. I was like, everywhere you look, there's clones, stormtroopers, Vaders, Twi'leks. It's just like I love it. I really want to go to like another one, and hopefully we can at some point, because it's something that I'll never forget.
Yeah, the Celebration in 2019 was the first convention that I had ever gone to ever in my life of any kind, and we took our kids, and my son was 10 and my daughter was 11, if I remember correctly. have it timed out whenever that time. But my son did a shore trooper or a scout trooper. We 3D printed him a scout trooper really quick. My daughter went to Mandalorian. And yeah, so it was the first time I'd ever gone to a convention, first time any of us had ever dressed up ever for anything. So it was a ton of firsts. And then, to get in there and be surrounded by 30,000 other people of just, all Star Wars fans it was so crazy. It was so cool. It was just unbelievable. Yeah, it was a little overwhelming, but in a good way.
Yeah. I'm guessing you got your son into Star Wars.
Both my kids like Star Wars, and I didn't want to be that parent that's like, I'm into Star Wars, my kids will be into Star Wars. And so I just sort of played it cool. And we were on a road trip one time, and I'm like, well, I packed some movies if you want to watch them while we're driving or whatever. And like, oh, what did you pack? Like, well, I packed, like Toy Story and Star Wars and other things. And, and so they ended up watching the Star Wars trilogy, and they watched the Star Wars trilogy, and then they watched the prequel trilogy, and they're like, oh, we like those. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's, and they knew Dad would like that stuff, but I didn't want to be the parent that was like, I do Star Wars, you will do Star Wars, and so I just sort of let them. It was around the house, and I just let them get into it naturally. Now they're very into it and all that stuff. So yeah, you saw the picture. My son is 15, and he's got the Captain Vaughn kit, and my daughter is currently working on Phase 1 Commander Bly currently. So that's what our project is.
Wow.
So, yep. So she's going to be a clone as well. And then after that, we've got Mandalorian kits. They had little kid Mandalorian kits, and now they're getting they're stopped sort of growing full on real. So that's another project.
Well, that's quite cool that that your interest has become a family interest as well now.
Yeah.
Which is quite cool. Everyone's doing it.
And you've got different legions as well.
Yeah, that's quite cool. trying to get all the clones if you can.
Yeah.
So again, like I said about the droids, what have you got in the pipeline? Have you got any? Did you want to do another character in Star Wars? I know you mentioned about Boba Fett, but if you weren't doing Shock Trooper, Coruscant Guard, would you do someone else, or not really? You happy with what you've got?
Unfortunately, I'm a little bit of the ADHD where I'm like, I got to do the next thing, So I made sure I prepped a little bit here. So this is my Commander Doom.
Nice.
So I have the helmet done. Again, these are Galactic Armory files, and so my Coruscant Guard kit's an Imperial Surplus vacuum form kit. So it's vacuum form plastic, sort of in the style of the original TK Troopers, all that kind of stuff. And so the Galactic Armory stuff is all just files that you can buy 3D print. So the Doom helmet I just showed you there, that's all 3D printed. And then I have the full set of armor that I'm working on for Commander Doom. Sort of the lower half of the body is pretty much done, and the upper half is half done. And so I'm hoping to have those done by midsummer here. Time allows. And then I've got another kit. This one is my Shore Trooper. I've got the helmet done on it already. The armor is all painted, and it needs to be weathered and final strap and fit and stuff like that. So those are the two that I'm really working on getting done. And yeah, so we have just a really strong clone contingent here in Iowa. And we have about a dozen people or so, and then in the surrounding states, we've made friends with a lot of the other clones in the surrounding states. And then there's a lot of people who have multiple clones, So, I've got the Shock Trooper I'm working on too. And we're always constantly, showing each other pictures of projects and, goading each other on. Another project we'd like to do as a group is have a season 1 Bad Batch. We do have a Wrecker currently. He's almost finished with his stuff. And we have an Echo. And I think we have a Hunter in process too. So I've been hem-hawing about maybe trying to do a Tech because I really love that character too. And we also have a Mayday from the episode.
Oh, I am a Mayday fan, so that's that sounds good to me.
And and the guy who's Mayday has been talking about wanting a Crosshair to do convention stuff together with and pictures with. I'm like, well, maybe I could do that one instead of tech. Maybe I could do them both, because when you start building, it's like, oh, I love this, I love that. You love certain aspects of some things, and so that's it's just constant discussion in our chat group. So who's going to do what next? And we're just piling on constantly.
It sounds fun though. It sounds like you guys are like you've got an idea and it's like, let's all just do it. Let's just go. Let's stuff it. Let's just go. Let's do it. I love that. Mayday for me. I know he's in one episode of the Bad Batch, but I just really liked the sort of clone look with like the bandages on it. It's just something very different and cool, and I liked him as a character as well. So for me, that's a cosplay that I really like to see as well. There's someone who comes up on our feed quite a bit who does a good Mayday, and I was like, I really like that. But yeah, those like ones that you're working on as well look very cool. It's not often that you see Horn Company, I believe, the one that you're working on with Doom. So that is again something completely different to what most people do, So again, keep doing it because I think it looks great, mate.
Yeah. Thank you.
Very nice. I think we've got another photo that we've borrowed. We got that one, and then we got this one that we found on your Insta. So looking very happy.
Yeah, I mean that goes along with I was saying at conventions it sort of releases the inner ham in me, that type of thing. And so I'm I don't have anywhere to put anything on my kit, and so I don't carry a blaster a lot of the times just because it's a 4-foot long blaster and it gets in the way. You're very limited in your field of view, and the last thing you want to do is smack a kid in the head with a plastic gun, And so a lot of times I just go without the blaster because people want to get close to you, so you want to give hugs and high fives and thumbs up and all this kind of stuff, and so you almost need free hands again, and so that's just me just taking some random hey thumbs up pictures and stuff like that. And so it really goes along with just the attitude of being in kit. It's just endless smiles, so fun. What was it? October. In October, we did a charity event at a fundraiser for juvenile arthritis. And there was a lot of kids there who had dealt with that kind of stuff. And it was a 5K run walk type situation for a fundraiser for them. And again, it was we were there. They also had some Disney princesses there and some other costume characters and stuff like that. And it was just fun being there to help those kids who had to work through a lot in their lives, and all the people there to help support them too. And it was just again endless smiles. I can't say it enough. It's just endless smiles on being able to do something good. I love costuming, but if I can turn that into something good and give a kid a smile, or by us being there also help raise money for something. I think that day they raised $8,000 for their charity or whatever. It's not just because we were there, but we were there to help out, and anything we can do to help to do things like that, it's just smiles, makes you feel good.
Absolutely. Again, what you do, not just you personally, but what you guys do, like the 501st and the smiles and the good work you do for charity,
and you're having fun while doing it.
Exactly, you're having fun while doing it, but the stuff that you're the work that you're doing for it is incredible, and keep doing it and keep making these people's days, because
it's one of those things, it's a really sad thing to see, but you feel good because you're making that little kid's day, But yeah, I imagine it to be quite hard, but also you feel really good for doing it.
Yeah. And I said it before. Just people come up to you and they want a picture with you. It's just it's really cool because you can see on their face you made their, and that's something fun. I'm doing something I love, but as it's doing something positive. And I like bringing people joy as best I can. And so yeah, it's really fun being able to do that. And, yeah. Again, the smiles are great. Can't say that enough.
True. So when you were mentioning earlier about your movement and that you've, while doing some running and dancing stuff, you've broken some things. What sort of things have you broken, and how have you fixed them?
Sometimes it's like our shoulder pads are velcroed on, and we were doing something silly, and I popped a shoulder pad off and skittering across the floor at a convention. And it was just a minor paint chip, just had to do some little touch up. I've cracked a piece of the side one time, dinking around, and I've cracked some parts of my my shin guards. Those are the parts that take the biggest beating because if you try kneeling down, they don't flex like you think they should. And I've cracked some parts, so you have to reglue a couple things, or just do some touch-up paint here and there, that type of thing. Actually, the helmet that my 3D print helmet, to attest to its durability, it's got a chip out of the side of it right there. I have a mannequin where I also display my clone armor too. It was up. I had it standing next to Roger there, and the mannequin leg broke. It was sort of a cheaper mannequin, and the leg broke, and it fell over, and so the helmet fell onto the ground. And the only damage it had from it is a chip, just a minor chip. But we took the chance to take some. Like I laid the mannequin at Roger's feet, and we made some jokes about he was getting, didn't want to be upstaged, and Battlefield finally won. We took a whole bunch of silly pictures with that too. Couldn't resist, getting some good photo ops with a clone laying at the feet of a Battlefield. So
you should have captioned it like "For the Republic."
Yeah. Died in the name of the Republic.
But yeah, well, clearly your armor can take a bit of a beating, as you've demonstrated. So, what would you say is the key to keeping it as good as you've kept it? Is it just making sure that it's like regularly used, or is it, just not packed in a certain way?
Or learning how to pack, like getting it packed into a certain way so it doesn't get damaged in the crates and stuff like that. That's big. Making sure I use it in the right way. So like, the more and more I've wore it, the more I know what I can and can't do. Like again, like running with it. I've had to modify my running form, so I run very differently in my kit than I do in actual real life. So that is one thing. So like you have to learn you can't move like you normally do. Like your movements are bigger and slower. Like in your regular day, you might like cross your arms like this, but you can't because your arm pad, your biceps crash into your chest pieces. And, so you just learn what you can't do in a way. You sort of modify your movements to that. And just, again, I'm always doing like weird big dances because that actually comes more natural than other things. There's certain small movements you can't do. Bending at the waist definitely doesn't work anymore. So again, you learn to make like big, a lot of the stances you see, I'm sort of like half squatting and like big arms, because again, bending at the waist or doing facial expressions doesn't work. So that's like the biggest thing. And learning what you can and can't do, that's also big into like not damaging your armor too badly. I've seen people do a push-up in their armor, and I don't know even how they got to that position because I tried to kneel down one time and I cracked part of my knee, and I don't know how I'd get into the push-up position in general without breaking the knees completely. But some people are also willing to break things and refix them too, more than I am. Let's see, sitting down is something you definitely can't do. because of how the waist works and how your butt plate is a solid plate and it doesn't give at all. So that's something you just learn, that you're going to be standing for the entire time you're in costume, which, you know, I think my record is 8 or 10 hours or something like that. My son and I keep competing to see who can stand in their costume longer, you know, and not get out of costume. Yeah, so, you know, so in a way, like almost learning to be uncomfortable is a skill. I mean, they're not that uncomfortable. There's some parts of it that aren't comfortable, but it's, again, like all those smiles, they counteract anything. Anytime you get an armor pinch, you're like, yeah, but I made a kid smile, you know, or I made a silly video, or, you know, I did something fun and people laughed, or, you know, whatever. And that counteracts anything that might be uncomfortable about it, you know, that type of thing. So.
Oh. Does it take very long for you to get into the armor? Like, do you need help getting into it?
The more and more I do it, the faster and faster I get. It used to take me about a half hour to get into my kit. And it had to have at least one person, maybe two people there to help me out. I can kit up by myself. It's not as perfect as like if someone's helping you, because there's like Velcro tabs on the side and the shoulders that it's hard to get lined up unless you have a mirror, and it's just easier if someone else helps you with it. But I can kit up by myself, but all the stuff's way better in the right place. You know, it's easier if someone helps out. At the Twin Cities convention, both my son and I were wearing kits in the morning, and we were both tired from the day before, and so we only wore them for a few hours. We went unkitted, went back to the floor, and then realized that the Star Wars group meetup was in half an hour, and we're like, oh, we're not in kit. We wanted to be there for that, so it was about a half to 3/4 mile back to our hotel room. So we just, you know, we're runners, so we just sprinted the whole 3/4 way, got up to the room, and we got in. Both of us got kitted up, like help each other. We had everything laid out in the bed anyway, but we both were able to get kitted up in 10 minutes together, and we in kit ran back and were able to make it from the convention floor back to the hotel, get kitted up, and back to the convention floor in 32 minutes, which
wow.
very impressed. And everyone's like, how do you guys get kitted up so fast? I'm like, I don't know. We just, you know, but you do it enough that, you know, you just mentally remember the order that everything has to go on. You know, this has to go in this order, that type of thing. You know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, is there a certain order you have to put it on? Yeah.
There's a very specific order you got to put things on in, and I've gotten to the point where I put something on, I'm like, I forgot this, and then you have to take all the stuff back off, then get back together, you know. And same thing with my Mandalorian there too. There's a very specific list on which way everything has to go on, because it's all layered off of each other and all that kind of stuff. So you just got to make sure inside my armor crate, I've got a list. You know, it's like this, then this, then this, then this. You know, just in case, you know, you get to talk, because sometimes, you know, you got all your friends there, you're talking to them, and you haven't seen them maybe for a few months in person, and you're all talking and laughing and having a good time. The next thing you know, you're like, oh, I forgot my arms, you know, and then you have to unkit and start over, you know. So I got the list there to sort of help keep me on task, because, yeah, you start talking, and next thing you know, you put a piece on that you shouldn't have and already, and you're like, oh, man, now I got to start over.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the fact that you can get it on pretty quick like that is
yeah, that's very impressive.
So do you have like a little mental checklist in your head? So you're like shoulders, chest.
Yeah. For most of them, like I start, you know, you have like the cod, or as we call it, a diaper. It's like the waist belt, the front cod, the back butt, and then the thighs are attached to that through Velcro and strapping. So basically, they've got suspenders on them. You just pull that on as one big unit, and then you can step into or pull apart your shins. Then you do your shoes. After that, I always go with my neck piece, which holds my shoulder bells and my biceps. I put my ab plate on, and then I throw my chest on after that, or my chest and back, clamshell those on, and then I pull on my wrists, or my gauntlets, my gloves, and my helmet, you know, in that order pretty much.
Well, you've got it nailed by the sound of it. So, do you have any conventions coming up that you're going to? You and your wonderful cosplay.
I think my next scheduled one that I'm for sure going to be at is Des Moines Con, but that doesn't come up until June. We've been talking about hitting some ones maybe earlier in the year, that type of thing. Nothing specific yet that we know of. But yeah, so Des Moines Con in June is the first one. I know I'm going to be at Twin Cities Con again this year. I'm trying to think of another one. And then again, you know, any charity events, local hockey games, sport games, you might pick any of those up too. You know, hopefully hit this year.
Cool. So it sounds like you got a couple of opportunities planned.
Yeah.
To get in your costume. Have you got any idea on when you might be debuting one of your new ones that you're working on?
I guarantee the minute I get Doom done, I will have a video up of that one. And then pretty soon after I finish that, I'll be finishing my Shore Trooper. That one. The Shore Trooper just needs some basic fitment work, but I started Doom even longer ago, so I really want to buckle down and finish one project at a time, that type of thing, you know. Yeah, the lower body of that one's pretty much done, so I'm hoping late spring, early summer, hoping on that one. You know, that type of thing. So just as soon as I can get the work done on
it. So with the Doom one and the Shore Trooper, is the suit getting into it? Is it very similar, and the piece is very similar to the Coruscant Guard one that you have?
The Doom is pretty close, although I'm going to modify the waist and cod and the butt area a little bit differently. Because it's 3D printed, it's assembled slightly differently, and I've got a comma on, and so it's going to hide some of the side parts. And I'm going to try making the cod and the butt removable. Again, the biggest part of being in your kit is that once you're in it, you're also sort of in it. So there's not really an easy way to take a bathroom break without taking everything off. So that's one of those things that you don't want to get struck by a sudden, I need to use the bathroom, because it's going to be 20 minutes before you can at the minimum. And so for my Doom kit, I'd like to make it so it's a little easier to try going to the bathroom in it. I'm not sure if it's going to work or not, but I've got a method I think I'm going to try assembling the cod area and stuff in that I might be able to take it off and actually go use the bathroom if I had to. And then the Shore Trooper is actually a lot more comfortable. The lower armor, it doesn't have any cod or belt armor to say, so you can actually move and almost sit down in that. So it's basically pants and then a bunch of chest and ab armor, you know. So that one is a lot quicker suit up on that.
Mm-hmm. Are you and your son gonna do the Shore Troopers together?
He hasn't decided on the Shore Trooper yet. I gotta admit, like, that's again with Rogue One, when I saw those on the trailer, I was like, oh my god, I have to have those, you know. And I hadn't even really gotten that far into my costuming journey and stuff like that, but I was like, there's just the design. I fell in love with the design so much. It's, you know, that type of thing. But he's currently talking about getting a second kit, and we have a local member who's repainted one of their kits. I think he's on his 4th repaint of his kit. He gets it, sands it down to nothing, and starts over. You know? And my son's been talking about getting a kit, you know, because once it's fit to you, whatever you paint it, you can paint it whatever, you know. And he's been talking about getting a kit, getting it fit to him, and just doing a couple. You know, there's like 4 or 5 that he's been interested in, just like a basic grunt. He's wanted to do one of those, or a 501st grunt. And then some of them, if you do a basic kit and you can swap out helmets, so you could be like 3 different characters, I can just swap out a helmet sometimes. And so he's been talking about doing that, you know, in that aspect.
That's quite cool. Going to a con as this character, and then going changing the helmet out on this character now. Yep. So you see multiple characters of the same person. That's quite cool. Should we do Meme of the Week? Okay. So we always do a little meme of the week. We tried getting a clone one. This one was Chloe's that she found.
When your friend gets blackout drunk and you have to call them an Uber, just sit tight, trooper. You're going home.
I think that was a very good find this week. Though. That was it's quite a good one. I like that one.
Yep.
We should do a compilation of the memes
yeah.
and some good ones that we found.
Some very good ones.
Shall we do Troopers of the Week? We do this every week. Tim, you were one of mine a couple of weeks ago, I believe it was. So would you like to start us off today? Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
So like the one person that I follow on social media that's really influential is Hunter Smoke or Jagai Hunter on Instagram. He is currently the head of the clone detachment. Super positive, super open with helping people build things. He's very, very out there and shows the process and just how to get it done, and super supportive and helpful. He's also built a Mando. He's been doing a lot of R2 building and droid building because once you get into droids, it's like a no turning back type thing. But yeah, he is. He's a really nice guy and really supportive, and just gives out tons of information and help everybody. So that's someone I'd like to shout out as again someone I like seeing on social media.
Yep.
Nice.
He is very impressive. I've seen some of his cosplays before, and he does like the Star Killer Sith edition, which I've not seen anyone else do that cosplay. So
it's very cool.
Very cool.
You showed me that one the other day.
Yeah. But he's got so many. He's got the Rex, the Boba Fett, Star Killer, Hunter. But yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
So we need.
You want to use
it? So this is someone called Try on TikTok. There's a Coruscant card there. It's like the people from Ahsoka, but they're all cosplayers, but it looks just like the people out of the show.
Wow.
And then there's a throne at the end. Yeah. Which I think this account is that throne. So it's someone that does Twilight cosplays as well.
Interesting.
So she's called Try Cosplay. But yeah, I saw that video the other day and I thought it was very cool. They look just like the people.
I'm always just absolutely stunned. The people who have come out and they've done the Night Sisters from the Ahsoka show, or the new the Stormtroopers with the broken armor and stuff like that. How fast people can get that stuff turned around and out there and recording content. I'm like, oh, it just blows my mind because I know how long it takes me to get stuff done. Granted, because I've got a busy life and I'm also doing 5 things instead of focusing on one and just getting it done. But yeah, it blows my mind when I see that. It's like, wow, that is so cool. And I in the Ahsoka show, I love the broken armor stormtroopers. That was just so cool. And I've been watching that, and our local Galactic Armory, he made an Enoch helmet. And
nice.
The face is swappable. To make the helmet work, you have to be able to take the face out and print it separately. And so then they made Enoch the Rock. So they made a Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
I've seen that one.
And now he's also made a Thomas the Train, a sexy Squidward. It's just silly. And so at the Twin Cities Comic-Con, there was a guy there who had printed off the Enoch helmet, but he had the Enoch the Rock insert instead. And he had a wrestling belt, and so he was Enoch the Rock, but he was more like the Rock with the helmet. It was so cool to see someone who had taken that and ran with it, because they made the Enoch the Rock face as sort of a joke, and then he took it and ran with it and he had the whole wrestling belt and had a microphone, and he he sounded like The Rock. It was so fun to see him at a convention, and that kind of
That would have been quite funny to see.
I think I have seen that video where they print The Rock, and then
I have seen. Yeah,
they did. I think it was George Lucas's face and Dave Filoni's face.
Yep.
I thought it was brilliant.
What a way to have fun with, like, just something very simple. But yeah, no, those Night Trooper builds are very, like, so they have come around very quick.
Yeah.
I remember the first time that we saw them in Ahsoka, and I believe it was probably less than a week later. There was already people like building it, and you could see that they were like already like the bottom half of their armor was already done, and it was like, this is very impressive.
Yeah, and how like some of them got the lights and the lenses, so they look like they're glowing. So cool.
Very cool. So yeah, my proof of the week. She goes by the name of Olivia. She is a Bo-Katan cosplayer. Quite a good Bo-Katan as well. But yeah, she does some like sort of funny videos and sketches like with it, and yeah, just gotta give a bit of Bo-Katan shout out for a change.
Yeah, we like Bo-Katan.
So yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah. So again, thanks for coming on today, for taking the time to come on and spend it with us. We've loved having you on.
Thanks for having me on. This is great. I had fun.
Yeah, exactly. And please make sure that you make sure that we'd love to see some of these videos of like the Doom outfit and
if you make more droids, we'll have to see it. Maybe you can come on again and we'll do an episode about your droids.
Yes, we'd love to have you on. So yeah, basically, guys, that's going to be it for today. We are looking at possibly having another guest on next week, but we still will sort that out. But yeah, we hope you've enjoyed our episode with our special guest. And yeah, may the force be with you, and we'll see you next week. And again, Tim, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.